Right guys, everything's cured nicely now. I've just left it for a while, just doing some other stuff. I've knocked up a quick display base, just something simple with some resin cast Bandai tiles and just a piece of steel rod just to support the model. But what we're going to start doing is just applying some of the topical nicks and scars and whatnot that are all over the A-wing model, as well as then some airbrush effects, and then finally onto misting over the base coats, just with some grime misting and probably some reefer grey misting. What I will say, the prop of this model, the 2-foot ILM filming model, it has got here and around here and over here, this side, it has got some stark black blast marks, if you will. At this scale, I think they're going to look a wee bit wrong. They're going to be too bold. You very rarely use stark blacks on any model. It's very easy to go overboard, and once it's done it can't be undone. And a stark black is also the devil's doorway for going blue if you need to mist it back out too much. So try to avoid stark blacks. They are on the prop. I'm avoiding them here. I'm going to go with, again, SP Dark Lark. Now this grey, it just does so many different things. It's a really useful grey. It can be used as a paneling colour. It's a cockpit colour, as I showed earlier, and then it's a really versatile weathering colour. In fact, it's super. This and light lark grey are two extremely versatile weathering colours that can be used in so many various ways, different thicknesses, effects. So I'll be sticking to that rather than going with a stark black. So okay, what I'll do, I'll set some paint up now, and we'll just start applying some of the more topical and then smaller airbrush effects. Right guys, two simple ones to begin with that are pretty apparent. Again, these are in engine black, I would say, but I'm going to go with Dark Lark. There is some blast effect here and then here, and it's like ILM have masked them off. They've masked the panel and then shot over with the edge with the airbrush. So without further ado, what I've done, got a loose mix of SP Dark Lark in the brush, and once again we've lost the diffuser. We're just going straight needle, so we can try and work up pretty close if possible. And as I said, this is a first for me, so let's just see how this goes. Okay, so you get that effect there. I've kind of put the tape a wee bit out of alignment, but okay, so you get the idea. Just trying to be as subtle as I can at this scale. Same again, and I'm going to lie the brush at an angle. You see that? It's masking tape's really critical at this scale. Even if you get it like a thou out, it provides a lovely little gap that you have to go back in and mist. Come on, airbrush, don't fail me now. Okay, and that'll about do there. So you've got those just two subtle effects there, and I've used that. I'm going to just go over this one again. There we go, that will do there. This is very thin paint I'm using at the moment, very thin. And you do have to be very, very careful not to overdo it, especially at this sort of scale. I mean, I could probably get away with it a bit more, obviously at studio scale and obviously painting the maquette. But you, I find on the Bandai models, excuse me, yeah, I do have to use quite an insane amount of restraint, which is yeah, it's sometimes tricky. But we'll get another few markings done and take it from there. So down here, just checking the reference. Yeah, there are some little spats and spots. So we're going to just go freehand there and attempt to add those effects here. Okay, just very simple little spots and stuff that ILM have added. Now, what I will say is when you're doing this kind of work with the acrylics through the airbrush, because you're being so, well, I am hesitant on the airbrush trigger, you will find some paint drying on the needle because you're shooting a lot of air as opposed to paint. So you will find it may start drying in the brush. So just keep I keep a little paintbrush handy with just a little bit of the thinners in there, which is what I'm kind of doing now. Just trying to sort the brush, because it does build up on the needle here. Okay. That feels a little better. As I said, with your needle tip, you will find the build up more using these techniques, which is what I'll call just, some of it's just airbrush washes really. It is just literally, you know, you're using the airbrush to create these washed effects. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to thin the paint out some more. Because it's those effects that I want to try and show now. But as I said guys, this is a first for me as well, using it in this manner. You know, I've not done any of this, so which is why I'm kind of doing this little A-wing, to be honest. It's to get used to using these paints in preparation for me painting 5 ROTJ Y-wings in a row. Yeah, lots of fun. Right, anyway, so we're going to blow some paint in there now, hopefully. Okay, so I'm letting that bleed around the edge a little bit as I'm filling this in. Pretty simple but super thin paint. And the thinner you keep the paint when you're doing this, the less chance you got of mucking it up. It's just a little bit more controllable. So I'm just hardly touching the paint on it really. I'm not putting a lot on at all. I'm just going to fade the edges of this one out. You notice I'm pulling further back with the airbrush now. I'm pulling back just to get some more atomization. That kind of gives you the idea there of now those being shaded in and some overspray around them, which I mean, go back in and probably fine tune that a little bit more. Okay, I'll do that. Right then, we'll move on to some more spot marks. Right guys, looking at the ref, just seeing where I can start going with this. We've got these little pieces here, which on the original are from the Tamiya Jeopard, which are huge, but they have these weird little spattery splashy effects on them. So we're going to emulate that. You see how it's all washed around? Yeah, and also there, nice bit of spattery effect. Those are the exact effects that you're looking for when you're painting an ILM model to that to the you know, the filming miniature standard, as it were. You know, you're it's very slap and dash. Less is more. You know, it's yeah, there's not a lot going on. It's very simplistic but very effective. Same here. We've got the same sort of thing going on. So okay, little splatter effects there. Some here. Just very subtle. It's so hard at this scale. It really is. It's like the restraint I'm having to put into this is just insane. Okay. Whee! Right. Okay, that's a few there, and we start getting some across the red now. There's, you know, some other marking and whatnot up here, so I'm just going to start adding some of those at random now. Really, actually, what I will do, just make sure the tip of the brush is going to behave itself, and we'll yeah, have a look at some of those. Right, so right next to this little doorway thing, okay. Okay, so we've got these sort of markings here. Okay, and there's some down on this mandible here. Right, you know, I might just put some engine black here and there after all, but we'll see how we get along first. Right, now John Simmons has showed you this, and I showed it briefly in one of the ROTJ Y-Wing videos about pretty much applying a wash with an airbrush. You know, this spatter effect that I've done to a very small degree here, but on the A-Wing you've got a big blare of sludge along this area, so I'm going to try and I'm going to try and emulate it. I'll see what I can do. I might need to adjust the camera and just hope for the best. Okay, let's just do it. Let's just, yeah, whatever. Okay. be honest, I think paint might be a bit thick for that. So what I'll do, I'm just gonna thin this out a bit. So what I'm doing here is I've just dumped a lot of paint out the airbrush cup, just got rid of that. I'm going to add more thinners. So effectively what you guys do as like you know, artist brush applied washes, that's what's in my airbrush now. It's a lot thinner. I don't know whether I'll get away with going over this again. Let's just have a go. Let's just do it. That's better. It's not bob on, but you see that effect you're getting there? Okay, now that's the sort of effect that you want. You know, very, very thin paint, very thin. Pressure, again, I'm at about, yeah, 17. So, you know, nothing different on the pressure, which is actually doing that higher. That's a higher pressure than I normally would. So yeah, nothing crazy on the pressure, and you achieve that effect. And I'm literally looking at reference here, guys, as I'm doing it, just to yeah. Yeah, okay, right, so we've got that little blare there, and then what we're going to do is, right, back end and these ports here. Now I've got some overspray there, some red overspray, but I'm not really worried about that because I'm just going to mist over it like that. Okay, right, now on these F16 intakes, these intakes here, there's a load of sludge and streaking to the same effect as that. So again, I'm not going to go to the micron of the prop, but we're going to try and add that kind of effect. Okay, yeah, that almost spider webbing, which I love. I love that effect. So I'd shot quite a lot of paint in there then, but I just use the air then to just move it around. Okay, so you're kind of getting the idea now. And then, I mean, if you find that's, you know, a little too stark, just pull back with the airbrush. Just give yourself a little bit more distance, and just sort of mist around it. It'll just subdue it, that, you know, and blend it in a little bit more. Same thing here. We'll just have fun and go at it. Yeah, and then yeah, I'm just going to mist around that. So here, in here. Okay, now the camera's not picking up every single tone here, which they never do. But you get the idea. And then in here, I'm just going to do the same again. real thin paint in there. And just moving it round with air. I mean, if anything, paint might be a little too thin doing this. But less is always more, so to speak. So yeah, that's those sections done. And then what I'll do is I'll take that technique now right round that rear bulkhead. But I think I may put just a few more drops of paint in the brush, just to yeah, thicken that up just a little bit. I don't want to go crazy. Just a few drops, bit of good stir, and I've literally put probably about three drops in there just to yeah, it feels a little better. I said it's all eyeball work, guys, you know. It really is eyeball work with paint. It's how it feels to you. It's a personal thing. Yeah, okay, right, so we've got these little shoulders here, so I'm going to do the same thing again. Too much restraint. Okay. We're just adding sludge and washes, you know. Hopefully in an ILM style. You know, we're not painting a scale model. You know, we're replicating in super miniature. An ILM model. So I'm just gently misting around the endings. Yeah, and this is all with just one colour. Okay, so just dirtying those down a little bit. Okay, we're darkening down in there now, so that's some just light misting there. Right, I think we're pretty close on the little spot effects. I know there's one here which is a tricky one because it's got a fisheye in the middle of it, but we'll see what we can do, see if we can get the paint to spider away. Oops, that's a little too much. So I'll just remove that with a brush. Right. I'm literally just using dabs of thinner there to dab it all away. We'll give that another go. Right, so let's go again. I've got a bit too much of a spider web, but no, I'm going to have to clean the tip of the brush. Just remove a bit of that build up. Okay, I think we're back in business. It's tricky at this sort of thickness, but what I'll do, I'll take an artist brush and I'm just going to dab at it. Okay, I've created something completely unique, but whatever. Okay, slowly get in there now before we start misting stuff. And the trigger's sticking a bit. Just using some just real light passes of dark oil. Just dirtying up the fins just a little bit. I think with the excuse me, I think with the lamp on, here it's a little harder to see. Exactly what I'm doing there. I'm just slowly, very lightly, just weathering the edges of those fins. Yeah, nothing crazy, just very light. Right, I think for the top side, yeah, I think for the top side we're about done there. Really, there are some, actually there's some spats there as well, isn't there? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to thicken the paint just a little bit more. That's why I'm getting a lot of spider webs where I don't want them, because I should have thickened it actually before I did that thin, but hey ho. What we'll just do these little effects there. This is so much easier on something of a studio scale, because you haven't got all this crazy restraint going on. And what I'll do actually, I'm gonna just do the same sort of effects there. I'm not really sure what goes on underneath of this model, so we'll come to that. Right, so okay, we've roughly got all our little nicks and blasts and whatnot on it now. Now it's time to just start tying it all in. Maybe just a few passes of engine black, but let me load that up and we'll get to that. Right guys, I've about just done a few finishing bits and bobs and spits and spats. What I'm going to do now is try something a bit different, rather than just misting grime along the hull. The hull's covered in this patchy effect, so what I'm going to do, just in various places, I'm going to use a sponge. I've probably got a bit much on that. To just apply just a bit of mascol here and there. Okay, just a little bit of mascol. I'll probably dab some of that off actually, because the not too much on it. Okay, right, I'm just going to put just a really thin mist of grime over that initially. So bit spickly speckly, but some light misting, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to just put some over that. And I'm going to take off that latex and just see what kind of effect that's going to have if I do it all over. So I'll just use my finger. It's an experiment in itself, but I just thought I'd try and get some of that patchy effect that's all over the whole. Of the model. Okay, and then what I'm going to do, because it is fairly stark, I'm just going to mist again, just gently over it. Oops. On the subject of misting with this stuff, whoops, that is a bit much there, but this is also a first for me. I haven't attempted any misting with this as yet. A bit over. I'll probably put I'll put another bit of mascol on the bottom just for some dramatic effect. So I'll be back in 2. And okay, a little bit over misted. I've much to learn in that respect using the acrylic, but you get the gist. You know, it's now subdued, and you know, did the same sort of effect on the underside. And what I'll do is, now tomorrow I will finish up the guns, canopy and other little ancillaries, get them all on, and finish it up. Yeah, we'll see how we go with that. I mean, a little simple base, and yeah, it might make for a bit of fun. But yeah, we'll get it all wrapped up tomorrow now, and take some more fitting photographs in some lower exposure and see how that looks. So anyway guys, thanks for watching, and we'll update with the finished A-wing tomorrow. Cheers guys, bye.